What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikiPikaPapa, and I'm freaking pumped to bring you guys this video today. So, in one of my more recent videos, I looked at Sword and Shield booster box prices, and I was comparing them to what I call the middle 16. So, the top 20 cards in the set, what their value is, pull out the top two, pull out the bottom two, and I was looking at really the ratio. So, what is the middle 16 price versus the booster box? I saw some stuff that I thought was out of whack, and I thought to myself, I was like, man, this doesn't make sense. Matter of fact, the whole title of the video was "This doesn't make sense to me." So I started doing some research and I put it out there, and you guys, you all are so freaking smart. Like, I had some amazing comments, some amazing feedback. Like, I just loved everything. It got my brain twirling, and I started thinking, and I was like, I owe you guys another video. And what I owe you is I owe you the same view, but let's look at Sun and Moon. And the reason I want to look at Sun and Moon is because Sun and Moon has had more time to bake. Like, Sword and Shield is still new. Like, in the Pokemon world, it's a baby. So we can look at Sun and Moon. We can see what happened to Sun and Moon. Where do these ratios that I felt were out of sync, where did they end up settling for Sun and Moon? Where are the prices now? It's not a prediction, right? Like, you can't predict the future. Yogi Berra's favorite saying is, prediction is hard, especially about the future. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I certainly can take a look at what has happened and make some guesses and make myself feel good and hopefully educate all of us about what could happen for a set like Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, and for other sets that are going to come out here in the future. So here's what my goal is for this channel and for everybody who's watching. There's this saying, people with experience and people with money. You put a people with experience in the room with people with money. The people with money leave with the experience. The people with the experience leave with the money. I want us to be the ones with the experience. I have been doing this, not in the Pokemon space, but I've been investing in high-end cardboard for 20 years. And I will tell you this, I have been the person with experience. I have also been the person with money. I have walked out with some silly investments because I didn't know what I was doing. That's part of the learning curve. What I want to do is I want to get all of us leveled up. We look at these videos, we look at things from a data perspective, and we can make some assumptions on our own. What do we want to do? What do we not want to do? What makes sense? What doesn't? But basically, I want us playing chess when everybody else is playing checkers. So we're going to look at this from a different view. We're going to see what we can come up with. We're going to look at patterns. And I just want everybody to have a ton of fun. So I put a ton of work into this. I really enjoy it. If you like what you see, if you think there's value in this, hey, hit that subscribe button. We'd love to have you a part of the community. Hit that thumbs up. Drop some comments. You know, hey, I love the comments. I try and respond to each one personally. And they really give me some ideas for future videos. I got a list a mile long now. So with all that being said, I'm going to get off my soapbox and let's jump into this right now. So first thing I want to do is I want to frame up a real quick refresher from the video that I did in Sword and Shield, because it's going to be really important for the rest of this video to understand what we're looking at now. If you haven't watched that video, watch this one all the way to the end and then go back and watch the Sword and Shield video, because it's going to explain a lot of this in more detail and it's going to give you kind of the origin story of where we're at right now. But I briefly talked about this a second ago. The average of the mid 16. So I want you to look at each of these sets, look at the top two card prices, or an Astral Radiance and Silver Tempest, the very top card prices, and look how they're way off skew compared to the rest of them. So when I look at the average 16, I pull the top two, I pull the bottom two, and I average the middle. That's because I don't want one or two cards to skew the average one way or the other, because that will have the opportunity to really screw up the data. I want to make sure that I'm looking at a true average and not just one or two cards pulling us one way or the other. So middle 16 average for all 12 Sword and Shield sets was $23.70. Okay, that's a really important number to remember as we move forward. $23.70 for the middle 16. Okay, the next one, look at the very bottom. You're going to see Grail Box. Okay, that is this statistic, but I have changed the name because you all were dead on right. I shouldn't call it a Grail Box. Grail Box can be confusing. There are no Grail Boxes out there. Like, it's impossible to imagine getting all of these great cards in one box. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to call it the top 20. So the average the combined price of the top 20 cards in the set minus the cost of a box. Okay, so it's the same number, but I'm wording it differently so that everybody can digest it a little easier. And when people come to the channel, they understand what we're talking about. It makes more sense. So top 20 minus box price for Sword and Shield was $510. That was the first place where I was like, man, that's way out of whack as far as I'm concerned. I think the value of the top 20 cards versus the price of the boxes right now are way out of whack. It's way in favor of the top 20 cards versus the price of the boxes. And that was driven by the average box price right now is $146.39 in Sword and Shield. And that gives us this percentage. Anytime you hear me talking about percentages from here on out, this is the number that I'm talking about. So it's that first number that I talked about, the average mid-16 price versus the booster box price. So for this, we're looking at $23.70 over 146.39, that gives us 17.05%. I think that is way too high. That's astronomically too high. The value of those middle 16 cards is too high compared to the average box price. That was why I wanted to go back to Sun and Moon and say, where has Sun and Moon settled at? Like, what is the ratio that Sun and Moon is at? I did that. I like what I see. It's not a definitive yes or no, but what it means is I owe you guys more work. I got to go back and look at XY. I got to go back and look at black and white, and I got to go back and see if they're following the same patterns, because if they do, then there might be more of a there. But I certainly think this gives us some idea of where things could settle. And again, I feel that was the number that jumped off the page, and I was like, there's no way that makes sense. Look at Chilling Rain, look at Evolving Skies, look at Astral Radiance, look at Silver Tempest, 38%, 27%, 24%, 24%. Like, I feel like there's a big problem with those prices right there. So anyways, let's get into Sun and Moon and take a look at where Sun and Moon stacks up on these exact same metrics. This is where we're at with Sword and Shield. Let's look at Sun and Moon as a baseline, okay? As I said earlier, I am going to do a whole video just on these Sun and Moon sets. I don't want you to get too deep into my Technicolor Dreamcoat of Pokemon awesomeness here. This is just to show you the work has been done. This is also to show you the age of the cards. Like somebody in the comments called it out. They're like, oh, you should put when the set was released because that's going to add value. Spot on. Freaking love it. It's added from here on out for the rest of the future. So this is what it looks like for all of those Sun and Moon in the exact same format as Sword and Shield. Cool thing to call out here is the average mid-16 price for Sun and Moon is up. It's up a little bit, not a ton. We went from 23 and change to 25 and change. So up is up. But what that tells me is that even when it starts to settle, you know, a lot of times Sun and Moon or Sword and Shield will come out and people are really after those first cards when they first get released. So the price is up and then, you know, more and more come out and more rips happen. More and more product comes out there. Price starts to come down. But again, this is as close to a fully baked set as we're going to look at least between these two. And so the price has settled down right at a mid-16 price of $25.40. And then the average of the top 20 minus the box was $246. Remember on the previous slide, Sword and Shield is up to $500 and change. Here in Sun and Moon, it's down to a more reasonable $246. This was where I started to get excited. This was where I started to think, there might be a there. The average box price is up to $419. And then that average mid versus booster box price is at 6%. Remember on the last high, it was at 17%. Told you that felt super high. Sun and Moon, it's down to 6%. That feels doable. That makes sense to me. I'm not sitting here scratching my head. That makes sense. And the only way that percentage changes, and it's very apt that these two numbers are right on top of each other, is either the average mid-16 price has to change or the average box price has to change. And in this example, the mid-16 price, pretty steady, right? Instead of 23, it's at 25. But because the average box price is so much higher, that drives the percentage from 17% all the way down to 6%, which makes me feel really good. My hope, my thought, my theory is that Sword and Shield is going to get down there. I don't think it's going to be the card price movement. Maybe the cards will shimmy up a little bit. Maybe they'll shimmy down a little bit. But I think it's going to get closer to that 6% number because the box price is going to change. Here are some of the other call outs that I had. Average box price, we just talked about it, $419 versus $146, okay? Average mid versus booster box price, Sun and Moon, 6%. Sword and Shield, 17.05. That's crazy. Again, I think it has to work its way down in my mind. And again, we look at 12 sets for Sun and Moon, 12 sets for Sword and Shield. What was interesting to me is the oldest sets don't necessarily seem to hold the most value in Sun and Moon or Sword and Shield. Like in Sun and Moon, 4 of the 6 that were the oldest had the lowest value to them using this same parameter that I look at, so from a percentage standpoint. And in Sword of Shield, the 4 oldest were the 4 with the lowest value. So that was really shocking to me. So, you know, there's theories out there that, hey, age is going to add value. But what this is starting to show me is that people out there understand that the value of the sealed product is directly correlated to the value of the possible products inside. Not the products that are inside, it's the possible products that are inside. You know, one of the things that I got a lot of comments on was pull rates. And I'm not saying I'm not going to do pull rates in the future. I didn't do pull rates in this one because I'm trying to compare old videos to new videos, and I didn't want to change any of the inputs because then it would just totally throw everything askew. So I left pull rates out of this. But I'll tell you this too, in the sports card space, like there's a finite number of cards produced. The pull rates in the sports card space are abysmally low compared to Pokemon. Like there will be 100, 500, 1,200 cards that are made of that one. They're serial numbered. Like that's it. There's no reprints. There's no redos. There's no restock. Like there are X amount of these rookie cards that you got to go after and try and buy. the pull rate is abysmal. We don't base the price of the boxes on a pull rate. We base it off because, hey, every box that I have has an opportunity to pull that card. Like, we don't break it down in that view. I'm not saying that I won't in the future. I didn't here. I am putting a ton of thought into that and how I might correlate it and how I might work it in here. But I'm seeing some numbers that I like now, so I didn't put it in here. Don't scream at me in the comments. I promise I'm going to get there. I know you all are obsessed with pull rates, probably rightfully so. I'll get there, I promise. The other thing when we were talking about the newness of sets, and I think this is much less valid on the Sword and Shield set because we just had a drop in November. So when we're talking new, we're talking real new. But for Sun and Moon, the two newest sets, so the ones that were dropped in November and August, Cosmic Eclipse and Unified Minds, like they have the highest of that percentage where it's the average, the middle 16 versus box price out of all of the other Sun and Moon sets. So I thought that was really interesting. And then Sword and Shield, again, the newer ones are super new. We saw the two biggest come from right in the middle. Evolving Skies was one of them, which really pulls the rate up as well. Now, in these next three slides, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the Sword and Shield set through a Sun and Moon lens. So we're going to make some guesses and just say, what if? They're not predictions, they're not projections. We're going to say, what if Sword and Shield happens to mimic Sun and Moon? So what if those percentages that were at 17.5, right? It's right there on our screen. It's at 17.5. What if it doesn't make it all the way down to 6%, but what if it makes it down to 8%? What will those box prices look like? Like, what will the card values change to? That's what we're going to look at. I'm going to explain it on the first side, and then we'll kind of go through the next ones as well. So here's what I want everybody to look at right here, if I can get my clicker to work. These are the tier 3 ones. Vivid Voltage, Darkness Ablaze, Rebel Clash, and Sword and Shield. Okay? These, again, look at this. These are also the 4 oldest. So the booster box price is right there in peach. Underneath that, you're going to see the middle 16 average, right? We've already talked about that at length. You guys know what that is. In the white is what the current middle 16 average is. In the green, listen, hey, I get it. There's going to be bulls and bears in this group. Some people think the prices are going to go to the moon, diamond hands. Some people think everything's going to crash to the bottom and we're going to be left with a whole bunch of valueless pieces of cardboard in our hands. Somewhere in between those two is going to be the correctness, right? Like, we don't know where it is, but it's going to be somewhere in between those two. So what I do with these next two lines is I assume, hey, card price goes up 20%, yay bulls, or card price goes down 20%, yay bears. All right? And then down below, we're going to assume that it gets to 8%. Remember, it's at 17% right now, that ratio of middle 16 versus booster box price. So we're going to assume it gets to 8%. If it gets to 8%, based off of the middle 16, what would the value of those boxes be? Okay, now looking at these 4, you see everything down, upside high, upside low. Everything is in parentheses because everything is negative, right? So Vivid Voltage, booster box price right now is $131. If the prices go up to $8.68 on average for those middle 16 and it gets to 8%, that means that it would drop, or it would be at $108.50, okay? And if it drops 20%, it'd be at $72. If it stays the same, it'd be at $90. I don't know if any of these boxes are ever going to drop down to $50 or $70 or $80. I don't know. This is just, to me, Ryan, the PikiPikaPapa, this is just my perceived value, and this gives me an idea of where I think the prices should go. Not where they will, but also where I'd feel comfortable investing my money. So looking at all 4 of these and looking at all 4 of their prices right now, Ryan doesn't feel comfortable investing in any of them because I don't see any opportunity for growth that makes sense in my mind, that makes sense looking at it from this lens. So I'm not touching any of these 4 products. Just me, do what you want, okay? Now we're going to look at tier 2. Okay, Fusion Strike, Lost Origin, Battle Styles, Brilliant Stars. Now you start looking down. I know everybody creeps down to upside high, upside low. I don't blame you. I do too. But now we start to see some positive figures. Okay, so we start seeing some booster box prices. Fusion Strike, right? It's at $105. Look at that. The middle average on Fusion Strike's $21.61 right now. If it goes up 20%, it ends up at almost $26. If it goes down 20%, it ends up at $17. But if it works its way towards that 8%, in 3-5 years, whenever it gets there, the value of the boxes should be around $325 or $215. That's the high and the low. And then we go ahead and deduct the booster box price today, and that gives us our possible upside high and upside low. These 4, I don't mind dabbling in any of them. I really don't. I don't know if I'm going to sell the farm on them right now. You know, Fusion Strike and Lost Origin are super new. Like, I want to give them obviously more time to digest. So I'm not jumping in right now, but I feel okay with them. I feel all right with them. And then these are the tier ones that we talked about. You know, Chilling Reign and Evolving Skies, you know, Chilling Reign's a year and a half old. You know, it's Chilling Reign has had a lot of time out there. Evolving Skies, I know a lot of people are you know, I wouldn't say into Twitter, but a lot of people are talking about the fact that you can go to your Walmart, you can find Evolving Skies now. They think there's going to be a massive reprint. Maybe there will be, maybe there won't be. But what I'm going to tell you is this, like, there's a lot of the product out there and the prices are remaining pretty steady. So Chilling Reign, the same thing. I know you can go out there, like, we need more time, but when we look at Sun and Moon is a fully baked product. Sun and Moon has been out there for a long time, and remember the statistics, like the average Sun and Moon box is $400 something, and the average middle 16 versus box price is down to 6%. So we're assuming these get down to 8%, okay? Look at those middle prices. When I was looking at Evolving Skies, what really jumped out at me, I'm like, man, you know, I see that even if the card prices are down 20%, like this is going to get to $800 box. Is that possible? But then I looked at Sun and Moon's Team Up. So you look at Team Up, and the booster box price for Team Up right now is almost $950. And their middle 16 average right now is $49. The middle 16 average right now for Evolving Skies is 78. It's way higher. Even if it comes down 20%, the middle 16 average for Evolving Skies is going to be $62 versus the middle 16 average for Team Up, which is sitting at $50. So yeah, I mean, if it follows the same pattern, I mean, if there's any there to this, then yeah, Evolving Skies could get to $700, $800, $900, and I really wouldn't be scratching my head. I would go, hey, you know, that makes sense. You know, in one of my videos, I said, hey, I don't mind spending $200 something on an Evolving Skies booster box right now because I actually think it's valuable. I think that there's value there. So, you know, this is the look at these right here. Astral Radiance is another one. Silver Tempest is obviously the newest of them all. Astral Radiance is a May 2022 drop. So these need more time. But right now, you know, I don't have a problem getting in there and buying them. You know, I think that their prices are a little high right now. I think they're going to come down in time. We're going to see how this marinates. I'm obviously going to do update videos, you know, as this progresses, because this isn't just Ryan said, and then if it doesn't work out, we wash it away. Like, this is ownership. The internet's forever. I'm happy to have all this out here. And what we're going to do is over time, we're going to get really, really smart with this. So as I said, I've got another Sun and Moon video that I'm going to do, and it's just going to be on Sun and Moon. No Sword and Shield nonsense in there, just dedicated to Sun and Moon. We're going to look at the prices. We're going to look at some averages. I'm going to get into XY evolutions. I'm going to look at XY. I'm going to look at black and white. Like, I'm going to look at those sets, and we're really going to start looking for long-term patterns in the Pokemon market. I'm already starting to see a couple. If you look at the first video and you look at this video, just by looking at my different, you know, the slides where I show all 12 things, maybe you'll notice some patterns too. That's why I color code them. Sometimes it's easier to pick up patterns that way. But just by looking at that, you should be able to see some patterns. So we're going to do a video. We're going to call that out. I hope you guys enjoy this content. I am very receptive to input. Drop inputs down below. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you don't like. Let's continue to build this into a super strong community, and let's go out there and let's have a ton of fun, and let's make some money while we're at it. So you guys have a great night. Appreciate you. Bye.